Oh. Oh.
Okay, yay.
Hello, girlfriend.
Hey, welcome to the O podcast.
Woo-hoo. I forgot to tell you, I was trying to think of an Ope story all day. So
Yeah.
we'll have to run it by you before we make it official.
Okay, when you were like, do I need to prepare for anything? I was like, no. And then I'm like, oh, shoot. I forgot to
I
say
was like,
those Ope stories. So
I listen enough to know that she's forgetting
yeah.
about the Ope pot story at the end here, but we've got it.
Yes. So are you okay with just jumping in? So I know like we were
Mhm.
having, so for the listeners, we were having some technical difficulties. Apparently I can't record. I don't know. I might need a new laptop because I do feel like this is like so nice to do like virtually. Like I know like the quality isn't as good. I need to like do some research if I get more people who want to do it virtual because honestly, I was thinking about this. I was like, if we lived in the same town, like I feel like I would make you my co-host.
I do think we have great co-host potential for those who might not know. We are both Gemini vegetarians. I'm just kidding. That's a quote from Legally Blonde, but we are both Geminis.
I was a vegetarian at one point, and weren't you too? Like
Yeah, not like
legitimately?
strict, but like I
Yeah, like
only
a
ate
pescatarian.
vegetables. Yeah, well, light on the fish, but I love vegetables and pretty much only ate them because it's a lot easier and cheaper and they're delicious.
Yeah, I just love meat.
Yeah, like a nice steak. That's why I
I
wasn't
mean,
fully vegetarian.
so for me personally, like I don't know, this might sound like I'm like a grandma or like disgusting or something, but like I get like shaky if I don't have like a ton of protein. And I know there's like other ways to get protein in your diet like without eating meat, but it's like I like faithfully need it regularly. Like I have like beef sticks for snacks.
I feel like you and I have talked about this in the past, but it's recently become more of an issue in my life. So I did get married in June.
Woo!
Woo! And you get that your wedding dress like a year in advance, and I did that. And it came in and it fit me like a glove, actually, arguably a little bit too tight. I had a little bit of that back cleavage, and I was like, oh, not a
Mm-hmm.
big deal, year away, like not even an issue. And then I got this new job and I got a little stressed and like I realized that my body like processes stress very differently. So I
Yeah, we're like opposites in that way.
Yeah, so a lot of people tell me I'm blessed, but it is incredibly challenging
Yeah.
to gain like weight back once I've lost it. So eating protein is something I'm very into. And like recently when I lost a ton of weight, it was actually mostly like that I just didn't have an appetite. So kind of
Yeah.
had taking a dive into that, like, oh, why am I not wanting to eat? And like,
Right.
so then protein is like all
Which
I eat.
we had like again like we have like the opposite problems. Like when I get stressed, like I just like hold the weight on and like I gain it all on my face and I get puffy, and then like you just like have the complete opposite problem, which like I think we're both like equally like insecure about it.
Yeah.
And it just sucks because it's like, yeah, people say like you're like so lucky, but it's like I don't feel like you feel that way at all.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because I do think people compliment me more on my appearance when I am like healthy rather than like skinny.
Mm.
So usually it's luckily not a conversation I have to have too often. But it is like kind of an indication of, I guess, like what's happening internally.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely interesting. But I did end up having to pay a lot of extra money to have my dress size down additionally because
Uh,
I could not gain the weight back. So
that is so expensive too.
it was very expensive. Luckily, thank you, mom, if she ever listens. My mom did pay for it. But I was definitely like, oh, I'm gonna gain this weight back, no problem. And then it became
Yeah.
even more stressful, like holding
Right.
myself to like a standard like that. That was
Right. Like
not
I
feasible.
was in a wedding and like so I think it was from Aziz something. Aziz
I think I know what you're talking
Azar.
about. Yeah,
Where like you
Azari.
can order, yeah, where you can order the dress and then like put in your sizing, and then they'll like modify it for you. But I was like too nervous to do that, so I just got the appropriate size for my body. But like right in like my waist section, which like you can't really see here,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm a little bit bigger than like here.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to size up, and then I was like, oh, like it's fine. I'll just alter it. So like my girlfriend, she was like trying to like do us all a favor by giving us like a very affordable dress. Like I think it was like under $100. And then I spent like $300 on
Getting it
alteration
altered. Yeah.
because like my boobs are like so small compared to like everything else. And
Yeah.
then I just like she had to do it like 3 times because I'm like, this does like I feel like I'm about to fall out of my dress, and I still like didn't like get it to where I felt comfortable. So I went and like to Target and like got like these like fake boobs, basically just like a
The
bra that
chicken
like
cutlets.
just like stuck in there that were like this thick. I'm like,
I
dang, I look like I have huge boobs now.
that's like kind of how it was before. And then like that's like kind of the biggest thing, I guess, when I lose weight is like I literally feel like I'm like 12 years old. Like I have no boobs, which I don't really have a lot to begin with anyways.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
definitely when I got the dress that had like nice big foam boobs sewed in, and then after I lost all the
Oh,
weight, I was
good.
like, it's gonna look like I'm Jessica Rabbit with these like B cups in
No,
here.
you
I
look
was like,
so
you have to take those
pretty.
out. So she did. Well, thank you. She did take them out, but it was definitely like interesting too, like having people be like, "Oh, are you ready?" And like I had this goal in my head of like, "Oh, I'm gonna like work out and then like I'll like get back there and I was like working out to try to like get an appetite and like I don't know, just like I feel like working out is just good for my mental health.
Mhm.
And if you are ever considering a wedding, I loved it. It was beautiful, but I strongly suggest eloping.
See, I've heard mixed reviews because like I've had friends, have the wedding like in town. I've had friends elope and they all kind of say it's all stressful. So
I do feel
I don't
like you're
know.
like
I
me.
like
We did meet as event coordinators,
I know,
technically.
I know. Can we go back to this really quick? I did want to, I don't know if I've even introduced you. So Maddie Garrity, she is one of my work besties from forever ago.
Hmm.
But like we don't even work together anymore, and like we still stay connected. And I was like thinking about this, like we've technically only met one time in person,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. And we met in 2019.
Is that what it was? I was like,
Yeah.
I can't even remember how many years ago.
And it's so funny to me because we met because I got hired to work out of the Massachusetts office. Abby lives in Indiana, um, to work on this woman, Judy's team. And I love Judy so much. Judy loves me as well. And Abby and I are like
Yeah.
the same person. So the fact that Judy and Abby did not get along still like blows my mind. I think there's a slight
Yeah.
difference. Abby, you being a Gemini born in May, are strictly more of a
Hmm.
rule follower than myself. And
Yes.
I allowed Judy to like bend the rules a little, just
I'm less of
discreetly.
a rule follower now in my day, but I definitely was like neurotic back then.
And
And so like with for everyone like everyone listening, like I trained Maddie, and then I was giving her one of our business partners to
Judy,
work with that I previously was working with because I had too many people. Like I was just overworked in general. And it wasn't that like we like didn't get along. It was just that like it was like a very difficult to like kind of tumultuous dynamic.
Judy's a strong woman. I'm gonna
Yes,
assume
but
that
like
was
I
probably
can
the
be
issue.
too. But like
Yeah.
when you're like we were, well, I still am. But, like we were contractors, and so it was like a weird dynamic working with like the internal people as a contractor, and so it was just an awkward dynamic. But you did it flawlessly.
Oh, thank you, girlfriend. Yeah, but we have actually only met once in person. And then you did invite me you were supposed to come like to the East Coast right before COVID.
Yes,
We kind of had
yes.
like a plan. You were going to visit one of your
Hmm.
girlfriends and then we were going to meet up. I believe you potentially were going to stay with me for a day and then COVID happened. And then you had your 30th birthday. And I didn't have vacation time, so I was really on the
Yeah.
fence. And then I didn't get approved to go. And then I had my wedding, which I did assume was kind of a slim chance, but I figured I was like, maybe she'll want to come back to the East Coast.
Yeah. Yeah. I did like look at like flights and hotels and
It's
stuff, but
kind
it
of
was like, it
expensive.
just, yeah. For
So
like a quick trip where it's like, I don't know, like in my opinion, like, which like tell me like I've never been married, but like, would you prefer like a trip with someone that like you don't get to see often or them to come to your wedding? Because I know it's a big deal, but like also it's like, would
I
we have
do.
had a ton of like quality time?
So yeah, that's the thing that I do not hold it against you at all. I do know my sister is very different from me, and she does not share those opinions of like
Yeah.
her situations. I think you're similar to me in this regard that when I first said I was getting married, I was like, oh, not hiring a wedding planner. That is BS. Not that I don't respect it, but the type of wedding I was having did not warrant one.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to spend more than $5,000 on my wedding. And then I was like, that is impossible. I have 7 siblings and they all have dates. So I was like, I don't want to spend more than $10,000 on my wedding, which was what I ended up doing. So that was kind of nice. But like that's still a lot of money, and I was doing it all by myself. So I did ask my best friend's best friend, who is also an event coordinator, to like run my day of, and she was
Oh, okay.
amazing. And
Yeah.
I kind of dropped the ball on like 3 things, and she figured it out, like just what I needed. But um, I wouldn't like trade the experience. It was a beautiful day, aside from the one part where I verbally assaulted all of my guests because they weren't taking photos fast enough, and I was, paying for the food that I wanted us all to go eat. But like having my grandparents there, like that was something I wouldn't be able to do if I got married elsewhere. And then like in terms of like friends that I don't see very often, I'm pretty sure you were probably one of the only people I invited that was like my sister lives in South Carolina, so like she was
Yeah.
far, but like no one else was really that far.
Right.
Um, and I didn't really invite, we only invited 80 people total.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so it wasn't that big, but I do agree with you. Like going to a wedding is just expensive. I've learned
Mhm.
that. I haven't gone to too many in my adult years here, but like being a part of one, you're spending like at least $1,500 to $2,000. And then even just going on a weekend, like even if you live
Yeah.
in that state, like you're spending at least $1,000.
Well, and like it totally sucks because it's like it's not like I want to like have to pick and choose, but like my best friend got married this year and in Jamaica. And so it's kind of like how many times am I going to travel for weddings this year?
I talked about
So,
it with one of my sisters. So I have so I grew up in a modern family. I feel like I've told you this before. But I have one biological sister, Kenzie, and she just turned 30 actually
woo.
last week. And so she's the oldest, but I have a modern family. So my parents got divorced when I was like 6 months old. And my
Mhm.
mom and my stepdad met in my sister's preschool class. So my sister Jacqueline is the same age as Kenzie. And so Jacqueline's going to be 30 in October. And then Jacqueline has a younger brother, Thomas, who's my older brother. He's actually 6 weeks older than me. So Thomas officiated our wedding. Um,
Oh,
yeah, which was nice. But Jacqueline, and I share a lot of opinions, I think more financially than my sister does, where she like loves having an amazing experience. Like for her bachelorette, she wanted to go to Montauk, which is just like outrageous. I was like, okay, it's like a
yeah.
weekend. And actually, Judy was my boss at the time, and Judy kind of put it in a different perspective for me. Judy was like, why does everyone your age have to like go on vacation for all these things? Like, why are you doing 8 million things before you get married? And my sister unfortunately was supposed to get married during COVID. So then like it kept getting extended. And I believe I spent like $4,000 for all these things for my sister. And I didn't even get her a gift. Like I did not get her a gift. Like none of these things that I was doing were benefiting her other than like
Yeah.
spending time with her and the bachelorette weekend, which we convinced her to do in Newport, Rhode Island,
Hmm.
but like
More
it's
local.
crazy. Yeah, it's just crazy. Even all those
I
things.
was just having like this conversation about like let's just like bring back like bachelorette parties like in town, but then like my friend was like, "Would you want to?" And I'm like, it's not that it's like, since I did this for you, you guys have to do it for me, but it's like I've been out of town for like every bachelorette party. Like, I've never had one in Fort Wayne. So it's kind of like, well, I don't know, not really, you know?
So there was like some drama about my bachelorette because Kenzie, my sister, did Newport, and like I do live in Rhode Island, so that's actually like 40 minutes from my house. But again, I still had to pay to stay there
Yeah.
and do all the events and everything. Um, and so when it came time for my bachelorette, it was my parents actually pressured both my sister and I. We did not find out till after, but to ask each other to be our maid of honor. And like neither one of us was going to ask. So we asked both our each other and our best friends. And my sister loves my best friend Haley. And so we all went out and we were talking about the bachelorette that I've been talking about for years with Haley because Haley's very thrifty. She lives in Boston. I actually think you guys would get along really well.
Yeah. I sometimes wish that we lived closer because I feel like we would just all be
I'm
good.
always like, would you move here? Um, so we were talking about like we're gonna grab drinks at this dollar drink place. We're gonna go to Hong Kong Kitchen. We're gonna eat our dollar Chinese food appetizers and sing karaoke. We're gonna go here. And my sister was like, "Yeah, don't even invite me. I don't want to be a part of that like lowbrow event."
Were
And
you offended?
I kind of was like, "Okay, like thanks for telling me now." You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
my sister is very like proper and like very mature. So like, okay. Like if
Yeah.
you're not coming, that kind of gives us the out to invite like all of our older siblings. So we'll just do it super cheap. We're gonna invite our friends to like come stay at Haley's apartment in Boston and we're gonna go out on the town and no one has to spend a lot of money and not a
Yeah.
big deal. So we end up changing the plan because one of our friends offered to let us do it at his house. We wanted to do a combined bachelor bachelorette. So now we're going to this like mansion in Vermont
Yeah.
and kind of we like asked my Haley asked everyone to throw in $100 per person and she used the money to buy food and booze and we just
Mhm.
spent the whole weekend at this place in Vermont.
Yeah.
So like that was my kind of event. Like I didn't want all my friends to be spending a lot of money and doing all this. And then because the boys were there, us girls redid it again and did the bachelorette weekend we wanted to in Boston. And it was so much fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it caused like a huge rift with my sisters because they were like so upset that they weren't invited. And I was like, well, you like said you didn't want to be a part of
Yeah.
it. And she was kind of like, I still wish I knew about it. Got where she was coming from on that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am fully on board with I will spend the weekend in town for the Bachelorette. I think it's a lot of fun. And even though you went away for everyone else's.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like I have so many different opinions on like wedding stuff. Like, kind of going back to what I was gonna say, like all of my strong opinions, like I'm never having a wedding, and then like now my guy like wants to literally have two weddings, like one here and then one where he's from. So I'm like, where's the compromise? I don't know. That's not a conversation we're having. I mean, obviously we've talked about like just generalized talked about it, but I'm like, there's got to be a way to compromise on that. You know what I mean? Like I've always been in the boat of like I want to have a huge ass party,
Hmm.
which like that wouldn't cost people anything. Like besides like my family that live out of town and then like any friends that live out of town. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's just
You
difficult. And then
did.
it's like if I did do it like a bachelorette party here, like what would I do? Like it would be fun, whatever it is. But
So you did talk about this on another episode of a podcast. And it's so funny when I listen to your podcast because I really feel like I'm listening to like my girlfriend talk to me on the phone. So you talked about like getting gifts and giving gifts for parties, like events like bachelorettes or not bachelorettes, weddings or baby showers.
Mhm.
And I'm kind of fully on board with that episode of Sex and the City where Carrie like leaves her shoes at the baby shower, the second baby shower of the kids, which is kind of funny note there.
Yeah.
And her shoes get stolen and the woman like refuses to pay for her shoes and then she registers for them. I kind of feel like if you're like 30 years old or 35 and you're throwing yourself a birthday party, like make a registry. I'm a huge Real Housewives fan, and Ramona threw herself a 60th birthday party and registered for one thing. It was like this Chanel bag or something, and she asked everyone to contribute $100, and she invited 70 people so she could get
Yeah.
her bag. Like,
Yeah. Mads, for my 30th birthday, it was a party bus. I think if people are OGs, they've heard me talk about that episode or whatever. Or about it on an episode. And so like, let's say like the total for the bus was like $10,000. Okay. It wasn't, like, let's just hypothetically. I split it in like 50%. So like I ate the 50%, so like the 5,000, and then split the other 5,000, which isn't the actual dollar amount, but just as an example, amongst everyone else. And I still had people like not wanting to pay, and there were a handful of people that didn't pay, but like one person was like a last minute, not ad, but like didn't really know the details. I don't know. And then the other person like came from like out of town. So I was like, okay, they paid for gas, like, and they only came here for my birthday, so I'll let that slide. But and then it's just like, and not that it's, again, like, I do this for you, you do this for me, but I'm like, and I didn't tell anyone I did that, but it still just was like, it's like frustrating to kind of think about like that I didn't do that. And I'm like, oh my God, like now everyone's popping out kids, but I was more in the camp of like that I wasn't going to have that happen. And like now it's, I don't know, like I'm crazy in love. Like I'm just going to say it.
Yeah, and I feel like regardless of whether you were ever had this vision of falling in love, like you and I have talked about it like multiple times, that you did always want to have children. And I am definitely not like you did this for me, so like you have to do that. But if it makes you feel better, 2 years in a row, I've been put in charge of making a charity basket. And this year I tried to be smart about it and like confirm dollar amounts with people before I purchase anything. And I still have like four people that have not paid me. And like, I know how much money you make. You can afford the $20 for the gift
Yeah.
basket contribution that goes to the children's hospital. Like, and like my boss offered, he was like, oh, do you want me to like pay out of pocket? Like, do you want me to give you the money and then everyone can pay me? No, I should have taken him up on it. I don't know why, but like, I do think that's just like partially like human nature, like back to like the free rider effect, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But my sister Jacqueline we were just talking about it. We went away for my sister's 30th birthday. We did her husband like planned everything. So my sister is also pregnant. I don't know if I told you
Ooh,
that, Kenzie.
no.
Yes.
Congrats to
Thank
her.
you. I know. I'm so excited. She does not know what she's having, which I think is wild. I do not know
Like
how you
she's
could
not
go that
planning
long.
on like finding out.
No, she is due in October. Like she is ready to pop. So her husband like
Oh my God, I
planned
could never.
this event, and my sister Jacqueline is very type A. She's a Libra. She's very much into planning. Like she will send you a schedule a year in advance. Like she
Yeah.
planned her
So
husband's
kind of like
30th
me a
birthday.
little bit.
Yeah, like she sent us like a list of activities. This is your free time. These are things you can do in the area. Like, do not bother
Scheduled
me
free
during
time.
this free
Yes.
time. Yeah, like do not bother me. Do not be late. Like, love her. We need that. It's great
Yes.
for us adult siblings. But this weekend, like she was like, oh, not my trip. Don't ask me any questions. But there was one part like where people kept bailing for this planned dinner, and her husband had texted all of us and was like, it's going to be $55 a person. Like, is everyone okay with that? Okay. If you're not okay with it, like, please let me know. Like, you're responsible for the cost. And then, people started like bailing like last minute. There was like car trouble and some other last minute issues. And he was like stressing out about it. And I was like, well, one, I will definitely just tell the restaurant, like, he signed the contract for 11. That's all we got, like, not a big deal. Um, but my sister Jacqueline was like, this is why I would confirm with people in advance, like, you're coming, you're paying this much. So I do feel like part of it is like how much of that you want to manage. You know what I mean? Like that
Yeah.
conversation, like to an extent, it's like, oh, I'm just going to wave my hands of it and like be done with it to move on. And
Yeah.
like I had a party and this is now how much I spent, even though I wanted to spend this much.
Yeah. And I do get that a little bit. Like I was like, I want to do this and I don't want to feel bad about it. So I'm just going to eat the cost. Who cares? Yay,
Mhm.
celebrate me. But like also that I'm like,
taken advantage of.
Then I went to Jamaica and then, going on bachelorette trips and babies and I don't know. It'll all work out in the end, I guess. Whatever. It is what it is. But I also like as far as like paying for like trips and stuff, like I hate owing people money. And so I just like don't understand the people that are like, I'll pay you when I get paid next. And I know everyone's like in different financial situations, but like I would never confirm and then like not tell someone like beforehand that I couldn't pay you for like a month.
Yeah, definitely
And like
not ideal. I feel like especially at our age as well.
yeah, it's just kind of crazy. But like, and like this is, I don't know if they listen to this or not, but like I think it's kind of crazy. And maybe it was partially like they weren't sure if they wanted to come, but like I bought like 6 Taylor Swift tickets. And like I was like kept like reminding
Market,
like
like you bought
people.
them like at cost or you bought them at market value?
So I bought them and
Like you bought
I don't
them
know.
directly from the website or did you pay
Yes.
elevated prices? Okay.
No. So like it was like 230, but like 6 times 230, it was kind of a lot of money,
It's definitely a lot of money. I feel like
And
anytime you're
so
spending over $1,000
yeah, it was
on
definitely over
behalf
a
of
thousand.
others.
So I don't know. And it was kind of like I kept like having to like check in, like, hey, like and it wasn't even my friends, so it was even more awkward. Like your friends are paying, which it is what it is. But I just like and maybe it's a trauma like that. I'm like, I can't owe anyone anything. Like it's gonna be off my back. Like I'll never ask for money, etc. I don't know.
Yeah, to me, like sometimes I have people that I don't know, like I didn't work basically for I don't know, 9 months in
Mm-hmm.
2021. So like there's like times where I'm just like, oh no, like I can't do that. Or like speaking on
Right.
behalf of like Nick and I, like, oh no, we can't do that. And sometimes people are like, what do you mean you can't do that? It's like, what do you mean? I like literally can't afford it. So that's why I'm not going. I did
I
have,
think that all the time. I'm like, these people, like, I know what I make, and then I know what certain people make, and I'm like, how are you living this life?
yeah, like that's the thing too, is like, I definitely have paid for myself since I was like 18. Like I did
Yeah.
not live at home after that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so it's like when I was graduating from college, there's like senior week. I don't know how big it is at your school, but Sacred Heart is expensive and kind of bougie. And senior week was going to be like, I think it was $2,500. And like that was something my parents were not going to pay for. But at the same time, I kind of had the perfect excuse because my brother Thomas is my age and he was graduating from Clemson a week before me
Mm-hmm.
or like 3 days before me. So I had to fly down to South Carolina and like I got to spend time with my siblings. And then we were all flying back from there to go to my graduation.
Mm-hmm.
And my best friend and my boyfriend at the time, now Nick, my husband, they were like, oh my God, like I can't believe like you're gonna miss all this time with your best friends. And I'm like, well, one, it doesn't really matter because I can't afford to go anyways. Like my parents are
Yeah.
not paying for that. My parents can't afford that, and I can't afford that. I've been paying rent of like $600 every month and my food and tuition.
Yeah.
And I just can't afford it. I like work at a nonprofit museum. Like it's just not happening. And
Right.
not to mention, like, I have known him longer and like he is my brother and best friend. So like
Yeah.
unfortunately I just can't go. But I think it's like interesting when people are like, what do you mean you can't go? And like when you're younger and like people are using like their parents' money, they'll be like, oh, like I'll pay for you. Like I don't know, it kind
Mm-hmm.
of feels weird like using your parents' money that they gave you. Like it'd be
I
different.
could never do that. My mom was not rich.
Yeah,
Like,
no, like my mom,
yeah.
like I did hate like if I went somewhere to someone's house and like you'd like go to the movies or something and they'd be like, oh, like, do you have $5 to pay for this? You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
took me. You know what I mean? Like you didn't ask my mom for money in advance. Like, no, I don't carry money on me. I'm like 7. Um, but
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? Like if my parents are like hanging out or like had my friends with us, like they'd always pay for them to do things. But like as I got older and had a job, my mom
Yeah.
would be like, I mean, yeah, you can go to the movies if you have money to pay for it.
Right. Right. Yeah.
We have 10
Okay.
minutes.
I was gonna say, I was like, we do have 10 minutes. I do want to tell like a quick story.
Okay,
Sorry,
I'm
can I change the
excited.
subject?
Hmm.
Okay. So I think it was like 2 weekends ago now at this point. I've like been waiting to tell this story on the podcast. I don't
Ooh.
know if like if it's as cool cool as I think it is, but I feel like it's so cool. So the other weekend, we went to Warren, Indiana, which that probably means nothing to you, but like for context, it's like 40 minutes away from like Fort Wayne, like out north. And it was like a birthday party, and like I had been drinking. So the second, I don't know, I'm like an old lady now. Like the second I start drinking, I like have to pee like after like every 2 drinks. Like can't hold it for anything.
Okay.
And so like of course like we leave, and I'm like,
Is this like 2 beers or like 2 cocktails?
I think I was mixing cocktails and like claws, like white
Okay.
claws.
All right.
And so we leave, and I hadn't gone to the bathroom in a while, and I was like, shoot, like I am like in pain. But like it wasn't like enough to like be like, let's like pull over at a gas station. I was like, I'll just wait until we like get there. But like, you know, when you stand up and you start walking, you're like, holy crap, like this is
It's
like
painful.
it's an emergency. So I was with like my boyfriend, and we were going to this like Shaq DJ set.
Okay.
Like, first of all, did you know Shaq was a DJ?
No, like Shaq, like the actual
Like
like
Shaquille
Shaquille
O'Neal.
O'Neal,
Yes.
and he's in Indiana.
Fort Wayne.
He's in Fort Wayne,
Going to
Indiana, doing a DJ set.
going to Pierre's, which I know that means nothing to you, but that's
I've heard you
like
talk about it before.
this bar. This was like my first time going, because it was like a bar that like used to be poppin', and like it's still open, but like it's went downhill, but now they have like
Until
concerts.
Shaq's DJing now on the
I
weekends.
guess. I guess.
Has he ever DJ'd before his Fort Wayne appearance?
Yeah, like he's like touring right now.
Oh my God. And you knew about this event before you were on your way there?
Yeah, like we
Okay.
had
All right.
tickets. Like that we were leaving the party to go to this. So it's
Okay.
like we went to a party for like a 40th birthday. So it ended at an appropriate time.
Okay.
And then Shaq wasn't like, we heard he wasn't coming on until 1 a.m.
Oh my God.
Like, Shaq, what are you doing?
Yeah, he's not celebrating his 40th birthday, apparently.
No. He's definitely way over 40.
Yeah, I was
So,
gonna say, I'm pretty sure he's nearing 60.
yeah, so like, well, maybe not. Can I look this up?
Yeah.
Really quick. Okay. I know we only have now 7 minutes. Okay, so Shaq.
I thought you were gonna tell me you peed in the car.
Oh, he's 51.
Oh,
Dang.
I'm actually really bad at guessing men's ages, but they do look a lot younger than women.
I just am bad at guessing ages at all now that I'm like in my 30s, because it's like everyone looks like they could be around my age, but like could also be 20 years younger or 20 years older. Unless they're like white hair, whatever. But okay, so back to the story. So we park, I stand up, I'm like, this is an emergency. I didn't know what the line situation was going to be like to get into the venue and to get into the bathroom. First time at Pierre's, didn't even know where the bathroom was. So I was like, so my boyfriend's friend has like a hookah lounge right next door to Pierre's.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, do you think he'll mind if I just pop in to use the bathroom? So pop in, he's giving me crap, but like obviously doesn't care. And, you know, go pee, 2 minutes on our way out. And his friend, like my boyfriend's friend, was like, hey, I just got a call. Shaq is going to be here in
I
8
knew you were
minutes.
gonna say that.
So we stayed, and like all of his security team comes in, and he cut like, so what happened is like they let like everyone that was there was allowed to stay. So we're like, of course we're gonna stay, just to like potentially get a picture, which I didn't. Like I got a picture like in a video like of him like sitting over there. But I felt weird like asking him, hey, like, can we get a pic? But we're also not currently at your set. But by the way, we are gonna go to your set.
I do feel like it's
Yeah.
always kind of awkward. Like, I'm a huge fan of celebrities. I think you know this about me, and I don't know that I would feel comfortable enough to like truly go up to someone unless like they came up to me and started like talking
Well,
to
no
me.
one was really asking, and like he was just like, you could like he wasn't really talking to anyone, so it
He
kind of
was
looked like he was
chilling.
like getting in the zone maybe, and like I don't know, like he's going on at 1 a.m, so he's probably like tired. conserving his
He chose
energy.
that time. Being tired is not an excuse.
He's popping the Red Bull. No, I was kidding. So yeah, so I mean, we didn't get a picture, but I was in the presence of Shaq. I just thought that was insane.
That is pretty cool. Did you hit the hookah with him?
No, like, do you ever go to hookah lounges?
Mm-hmm.
So like they have like their kind of like areas like with tape, like so chairs surrounded by a table. So we were in one and he was kind of in the front one and facing the window, which like I don't know if he did that intentionally, but like they locked everyone else out, like you weren't allowed to come in.
Mm-hmm.
And so all these people were like banging on the windows,
Oh,
like
that's
taking
kind of
pictures
weird.
through
And he
the
was just
windows, and
pretending he didn't
he
see
was
him.
just like sitting there like this, like looking through his phone, like on like reels.
What a boss.
I know. And like there was even a VIP room and he didn't even ask to go in there.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Very interesting. You're so cool.
Yeah.
I'm so
Fort
jealous.
Wayne. Woo woo.
Woo woo.
So I had some topics. I know we were kind of just going off the riff, but I did have some topics that I wanted to talk to you about.
Okay.
So as we were saying, like we met in 2019, which Maddie, how old were you when you started working with me?
I think I was 23.
Okay, that's what I wrote down.
22, and I turned 23 when I met you.
Okay. Okay. So, like, my first impression of you, which I still feel like is very much exactly who you are just as a person, is you're just like the most confident. First of all, you're the most confident 23-year-old I've ever met.
I am very confident.
And like, I don't know, if this is me like bragging, but I feel like a lot of people say that like when they meet me, like they feel like I'm a very confident person. And I feel like where I was when I met you, like we were kind of like very similar and like lanes, I guess you could say. But you were like light years ahead of me because you were so much younger than me. So it's like when I was 23, it was not even comparable to your confidence. Does that even make sense what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying because you're actually, I was thinking about it today. So when I met you, you were 27. That's how old I turned this year. So I feel
Oh
like
my
it's,
gosh.
yeah. So I do think it's really interesting, like looking back and reflecting on it, especially getting married this year because I
Right.
noticed that Nick matured a ton from like the beginning of January through like the wedding time and even now.
Mhm.
And I started kind of reflecting on it, like, oh my gosh, I don't know how much I've matured. And so, like, talking about it, like, some people have been like, oh, I feel like you're already a very mature
Yeah.
person. And I do think, one, confidence, like, even if you don't have it, I think it's something you have to fake. Like, I think you've read this book, but like, you are a badass. Like,
Yeah.
you have to like put the narrative out into the world.
Mhm.
I also don't know if you've ever watched or read the book The Secret. Have you ever?
Mhm.
Okay, so it's a movie on Netflix and it talks about a lot of things that you and I talk about all the time, but like a lot of it's basically about like inner confidence.
Yeah.
And I do think part of that is just like how I was raised. But also like growing up, like I don't know, like in college, I guess is what I mean by like growing up. I remember my freshman year, like I would like get dressed in an outfit and I like before I like looked in the mirror, I'd be like, oh, you look great today. And one time my roommate Haley, who were like best friends, she was like, oh my God, you're like the cockiest person. And I was like, oh, I don't think it's like cocky. I think it's confident. Like eight
Yeah.
people are probably gonna make fun of my outfit today, and I just have to like rock it and be like, oh,
Yeah.
well, like, I like it. Um, so I
I
definitely
do think, especially like with outfits, like that does make like if you wear it and you're like, oh, I don't feel good, like it's going to like show it. But like also just like from like a mentality perspective, I don't know. It's like I know myself and I know that I'm doing a good job. So I feel like that just kind of translates to like, no, like I am doing a good job. Like, why would I be insecure about this? You know what I mean? Like, or whatever it is. Like, I'm doing a good job at work. Like, I try really hard to be a good friend. So I should be confident in that, like, perspective. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
I definitely think there's times when like you should check yourself. Like if people are constantly like telling you something, like people are constantly complaining that you're a bad friend or something like that. Like,
Yes.
okay, hold on. I keep saying like, no, I'm a good friend. I'm a good friend, but like, let's reflect on that.
Right.
But when we work together, there's like no clients really in the building Monday through Thursday, so very casual work environment. And like right away, I love wearing high heels. I've waited my whole life to wear high heels. I finally have a corporate office job where I can wear jeans, high heels, nice blouse on top. And Christina actually like said to me one day, she was like, you don't have to dress up. And I was like, oh, I have waited my whole life to dress like, you know,
Yeah.
30, flirty, and thriving. Like I am here for the heels. I will probably wear them every day. Like I'm
Yeah.
rocking it. Like I'm well
Yeah.
aware. Um,
And I just like really do love that about you because it's like you're just like truly like you show up and you're you. Like you don't try to be anyone else. Like even though no one else was wearing heels, like you were just like, well, I'm gonna wear these heels. You know what I mean?
It is interesting because in my job now, I told you before we started, right now I work at a call center and I actually think it's a perfect fit for me. As you know, I love to talk. So most people hate that aspect, but it's one of my favorites. But this woman, recently I noticed that she's been like dressing up a lot more and like, if I see a good outfit. Like I don't believe in like really being like fake. I think you should always be genuine and honest. So I'm
Yeah.
not gonna like tell someone that I love their outfit if I don't.
Yes.
Maybe I would only do that if like I could see someone was like having a hard day and I didn't really have any other thing of value to add. But this one woman, I kept complimenting her on it, and she pulled me aside like 3 weeks ago and was like, I've actually been dressing up more because of you. Like someone pointed out to me on like a call that like my presentation hasn't been like really noticeable lately, like since COVID. Like I've just been wearing like, sweatshirts and things. And she's like a head of a department. And she was like, and you just show up every day and
Oh,
you look nice and you really don't have to go to any meetings or presentations and you're here and you look great and I want to be more
yeah.
like you. And I was like, oh my God, that is so cool. So I think
That's
that's like
such a nice compliment.
yeah, I love that. And you always like send me videos. You'll be like, what do you think of this and this? And I'm like,
Yeah,
ooh.
I was just gonna say that anytime. So for the listeners, like anytime I like, so I have certain pieces and a lot of things like are different colors of black or grays or just like sometimes patterns. And some like you could make things work, but I don't know, sometimes things just don't look right. And like I feel like you always tell me to kind of dress for my shape.
Hmm.
And so whenever I'm like putting things together, like for like packing or for an event, I like send you videos, like, and you're like my top person. Like I've texted you, I'm like, hey, like I'm in need of like help ASAP. Go look at my
Go look at
Snapchat.
my snap. Yeah, because I am like
It's
Betty
like,
White. I could
yes,
do
it's like
without a phone.
despite you being like in your 20s, like you literally are such like a grandma sometimes.
Oh.